Hi everyone and welcome. Today I am very happy to bring to you an unboxing and review of an item that I have been waiting for since it was announced earlier this year in New York Toy Fair. Now in New York Toy Fair there were two things that were announced that caught my attention. One was the Mattel Ultimate RC Batmobile from the Justice League movie, and the second one is the DC Icons Superman vs. Doomsday 2-pack. And I gotta tell you, I am very, very happy to have this in my hands today because for a very long time I've been a big fan of Superman. And one of the biggest comic books that have been out there was when Superman died in the hands of Doomsday. Now, DC Icons is a line that I've been very, very happy to be collecting. And one of the things that they brought to us is more articulation in their figures and much more detail, and something that is just beyond Mattel or any other line has been able to do. And this is from DC Collectibles, so it's very amazing for them to do that. And today they bring to us the Doomsday Superman 2-pack, and I'm hoping you guys can be able to see what's inside. I apologize, there's so much glare and reflection, but I will open this up in front of you guys and you get to see it. But as you can see, this is the packaging in the front where you have Superman, some of the stuff, and Doomsday with a diorama inside and something and another background stuff. So this is the front of the box where it says DC Icons. On the side right here you see Superman Doomsday. On this front just says number 29, DC Icons Superman versus Doomsday, Death of Superman, that's what's based off of the comic. And in the back you can see you have the diorama displayed the way they did for their promotional photos, and you have Superman, Doomsday, and you see Superman's cape on a pole right here, which is pretty cool. And nothing on this side. If you lift this up, pretty much the same thing in the back. You just have only some rocky designs right here, and on this side, which is really cool, you have the look of Superman and the cover of Superman's death, which is his cape upon some rocks, which is really cool. And the front is not anything the same, it's just the rocks here. And the cool thing is the top part has the Superman emblem in bleeding, as it did in one of his last issues when he died. Let's get this guy opened up. So you can see, we'll open up right here. It's a little tough. There we go. Whoa, okay. Off the bat, on top of the box, as you can see, there is a little paper instructions that shows you how to put the diorama together. And on the back, it tells you the different options that you have for Superman and different options you have for Doomsday when they're accessories. And right here, you have, let's see, a little bit of extra stuff. You have two little paper things that you can put that give you the sound effects and stuff you can put like in for comic book style, which is really nice. These are actually really nice cardboards, so that's pretty cool. Alright, let's continue it up, taking this thing out. So let's take it slowly out. Alright, and as you can see, Superman and Doomsday are in this nice clamshell, and basically they're held together with all this plastic, which is nice because I am very tired of actually opening up figures that have like these bendy wires, because it's just a hassle. But as you can see, this is pretty nice. And let's take this one out. And as you can see right here, in the back of this box, there's actually a little diorama of what appears to be the Daily Planet. It's the front of the Daily Planet where Superman and Doomsday actually have one of their final battles, so that's pretty cool to have. Now, as you can look right here, we have the two figures with the base and some effects in a clamshell being held together all in plastic, so it's kind of nice to have it displayed this way in the box so you know what you're getting. But in the back of this is also another clamshell that's holding all the accessories for the figures. As you can see, it's got some rocks, it's got some fists, a face, and it's also got Superman's cape and all this stuff. So let's actually take a look at the accessories before we take a look at the figures. Now here's the accessories with the clamshell cover off of it, and as you can see, it's a lot of stuff involved, which is really nice. Some of the things that come with it is these rocky pieces that are attached. They go and attach to the base that comes with this figure, and each of these are very unique and they're very, very well painted. I'm hoping you can see the detail on this. They're very nice. I mean, this detail is just cool. And what's really interesting is that these also feature peg holes. Now these peg holes are made so they can be placed on the base in certain places. Now in order to do that, there are little pegs right here. Ooh, okay, let me see. On the bottom of this thing, there are about 4 or 5 of them, and they're very tiny. I'm not sure if you can see that they're tiny, and they're made so that they can be placed onto the base in different areas, I believe, and they can be placed in here, so they hold very nice. And these pegs can also be used for the figures. Other accessories that come in this package are also interchangeable hands for the Doomsday figure, which are 2 fists right here, and the detail on them are very, very nice. I'm hoping you guys can be able to see that. They're very well done, painted nicely, and it's made of a very hard plastic on the bone area. So if you were to like try to hurt somebody with these, it's possible to scratch them very deeply. So just be careful with these. But these are very nicely good looking. Also, what's involved in this is a portion of Superman's cape, which is tattered, and it's actually made to be held on Doomsday's fists. So I believe it's made to hold on the left hand, and the instruction says they are, and they're very difficult to actually put on, but they will hold. But if you were to move it to a certain side, it'll fall. So that's just something that's not gonna hold as well, but it's nice just for display purposes. And it's kind of strange too, because in the comic book this never actually showed Doomsday holding Superman's cape like this, but I believe it might have been like a variant cover, or if not artist, some artwork somewhere that showed that, so that was made. But that's pretty cool to have this. And the cape is actually of a hard plastic, so it's not very movable, but it's very nice. Another accessory that comes with this is a clear plastic stand, which is used for the little pieces of I'm not sure how these are called. I apologize if somebody knows. Please let me know. I'm blanking out right here, but these are made so that you can actually place these little pieces of paper and create this little effect, as though when you put these figures together, you can create this thing, and makes it look more like a comic book, which is really nice. And these are actual texts that were used in the comic book, and it's really nice. I mean, here's this one, Badam, which is pretty cool, and the next one is let me see, Katum, which is basically when Superman and Doomsday hit each other really hard, this is what happens. But it's really nice, and it looks really nice on camera, so this is a pretty cool accessory option. One of my favorite accessories is an interchangeable head for Superman, and this to me is what I really have been looking forward to. I'm hoping the camera captures it, but this is the head of Superman when he dies. It is amazingly done. It's just so cool. I don't believe that there has been any other figure out there, or any company out there, that's actually made a Superman figure with a dead face. And this is actually the first time you've actually seen one. And then the details on it are exactly to that of the comic book. To the left top part of his left eye, there's a bump, which was there in the comic book, and there's also blood coming out of his mouth. Let's see if we can get closer. And right here is the scratches that Doomsday gave him when he punched him in the face, which is really nice. There's also some areas right here on top of his right eyebrow where there's bumps. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's really nicely done. This is like so cool. It's very unfortunate that we only get 2 interchangeable heads, whereas when they announced it at Toy Fair, they actually had 3 versions of it. They had this one, they had a screaming head, which is on the figure, and they also had a regular angry looking head from Superman. And I wish they had put that in, but of course that was I guess there was some cutbacks ever made, and that was one of the heads that had to be taken out. But I'm fine with that, because this is the head that I was really looking forward to, so that's really cool. So now let's move on to the main event, and that is the figures with the base. And this is on a clamshell also, with a plastic cover that's holding everything. So let's slightly open this up. That comes off. And here you can see the figures displaced, and there goes some of the other effects that come with this. Pretty awesome. So let's get this figure out actually, and I'll show it to you along the way. Now before we get to the figures, I want to talk about the base that comes with this set. As you can see, it is a very nicely done base. It's a very rocky setting. It's almost of a destroyed concrete area and any other thing that's falling apart. But the details on this are amazing, and it's really done well paint wise. As you can see, there are also peg holes right here, and these peg holes are made specifically for the pieces, these accessory pieces. They also came with the figure, and as you can see, the rocky pieces are right here with pegs, and you have the pegs little here. You can just stick them on here, and then you can just stick them on anywhere. And the great thing about this is that there's not really any specific place that these pieces will go. They can basically just put them there, and they'll just stay. It doesn't really need to have the peg holes, but they usually are made also so you can place the figure onto this thing. So it's a really nice look to it. And one of the cool things it also comes with is this little Superman cape on a pole. Now this is very reminiscent of the cover of the last issue of Superman when he dies. And as you can see, it does have the rocky surfaces with the cape on this pole to signify that Superman has fallen. And DC Collectible has done a very nice job with the detail on this. As you can see, it is done very nicely. The color of the red is so vibrant, and then the yellow is so nice, and the details are there. And then as you can see, there's the pole right here, or the stick or whatever it is that's holding the cape, and it's basically placed on this particular item right here. There's a peg hole, and it just holds very nicely, and it looks really cool just to have displays wise. The plastic on this though is very soft on the little pole here, and over time it will start to droop. So I had it standing for a bit, and it starts to droop a little bit, but it's okay. I mean, you can actually put this, I believe, maybe upside down too. Not really actually, because it's a little bit bigger than it should be, and then this area is perfect for it, and that's the way it actually is displayed in front of the comic cover. So really nicely done. And here is Superman and Doomsday out of their packaging, and I gotta tell you, this looks amazing. The amount of work that the DC Collectibles did for this is just great. I am so happy to have this right now. It also actually has two more accessories for Superman and that are able to be attached to him. So let's take a look at that for a moment. Now, one of the accessories that comes with Superman is this effect that is used to make it look like he's punched somebody really, really hard. And it's really nice. It's made out of a nice clear plastic, and it looks like it's yellowed, so it does make it look like it pops out. And this is actually made to go only onto his right fist. So it's easily, as you can see in there, it's just made to go in there, so all you have to do is just push it in, and it holds in place. So it's pretty cool. So whenever you see him now punching somebody, you can have Superman give an effect to it. The other cool item that comes with this Superman is this heat vision that can be attached to his head, and then the heat vision itself looks really nice. It's clear plastic. It's red in certain areas. It's very clear towards the middle here, but it's also really red right here, which looks like it impacted something or someone. And as you can see, it's so cool. It's got these little I want to say they look like veins, but they're more like power that's just going around him, so it's pretty cool. Now, to attach this to Superman is very easy. There is a certain way to put it, because it looks like one of them is up and one of it's down, and once you figure out what that is, you're able to attach it very easily, and it holds in place really well. I mean, it doesn't fall at all once you put it right, but it's pretty cool because it just gives an effect, and him yelling, it's so freaking cool. Now let's talk about the actual figure itself and the design and how well it was executed by DC Collectibles for this line. As you can see, Superman itself, he's got a head right here that's screaming head, and it's also got some bruising, and it's got some bumps on him, and it's really painted well. I'm hoping the camera captures it really nicely, but the paint work on this is really nice. As you can see, as you keep going down, they have sculpted the shirt onto his chest all the way down to his abs. So it's not like painted on, it's more like it's just actual, looks like to be fabric on him. And they also actually did a service of this, because in the comic books, when Superman is fighting Doomsday at the end and he's pretty much all torn apart, you do see that they actually had drawn in not facial hair. They drew in chest hair and also arm hair, and that is executed here very nicely. It's really nice for them to do such a detail like this, because it's the only time I think you've actually seen Superman in this kind of way. I might be wrong, but that was one of the things that I remember from the comic. They've also done this thing where they've also added blood onto his left shoulder up here, which is really nicely done. It's very rare to ever see an action figure with so much blood, or at least Superman with blood on him like this, so it's really nice. As you keep going down, you see the same thing. Now it's going into his uniform, and on his right leg, on his right here in this area, you see that it's also been sculpted to look like it's been torn open, and there's blood in there, and there is some sculpting in that area. It's hard to tell, but there is some sculpting as though it's been cut open, but it's really nice. And as you keep going down, you see it's the same boots that he's used before from the other DC Icons figure that came out before. The back portion looks really nice. The color on this blue is really nice. It matches that of the last figure, so you can have these probably standing next to each other. But as you can see, that's his head. And let's actually pop in the other head so you can see how it looks like when he's actually dead. Just easily pull this off. It comes off like that, and as you can see, it's a little ball joint now. That's actually much easier to move around, so it allows him to have better range of motion, which I'll show you later. And then we'll put this head on slowly. There we go. And there it is. Look at that. It's so sad. It's like he's asleep, or is he dead? Well, he's dead. And that is just an amazing thing to see when you see this figure, especially when you lay him down to the side. You will see that he is no longer alive. So I just gotta say, this is an amazing sculpt. Good job, DC Icons. For the articulation for this figure is pretty much the same as the last DC Icons, with the exception of the head being able to move a little bit much more higher. So as you can see, he can actually look up quite a bit, not too much, but it's a bit of improvement from the last one. It can look down pretty well, and it can turn left and right. It does have some tilt, so it allows you to create these nice movements and for photography. It's got its shoulder can actually go up pretty high. I do have to mention, when moving these joints for the first time, if it's really hard to move with, please use a hair dryer with the heat setting on, because you do not want to break these figures. I have broken a DC Icons figure before, and I'm really upset about that, because it's really hard to get it replaced, especially when the place you bought it from won't replace it, and you have to actually try and contact DC Collectibles. But enough of that. Let's continue with this articulation. He can go down. He can do a bicep swivel right here, pretty nice. It's got double jointed elbows, so it can only go about 90, but it's still pretty nice to look at. There you go. Its wrists can actually rotate, and it actually has a hinge, so it's really nice. Now right here, it's got its diaphragm, which actually can move side, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. It can move a little back, it can move a little bit forward, not too much, and it can turn, so it's pretty nice. And as you can turn, it does break up a little bit of the sculpt, not too much, but you can still see it connect, so it doesn't look that crazy. Now it's got a ab crunch, which can go a little forward. I'm not sure if you can see that. It goes a little forward and it goes a little back, but it's not a lot, but at the same time it's still functional. Its legs are very nice. It's got a drop down method to make it extend downwards, so you can go down a little bit. I'm not sure if it catches it. It goes up and a little bit down. It can go forward. You can go, let me show you forward. It's not too bad. It kind of turns outward a little bit. It can move a little back. It's got a bit of a upper thigh swivel, not too much. And it's got a double jointed knee, which does pretty well. And right here, its foot can go up a bit, it's like up a bit, not too much, but it's enough. And it can go slightly down, so it can give you a flying pose. And it's got rockers that move pretty well. It's nice. Now let's take a look at the Doomsday action figure. And I gotta tell you, the DC Collectibles did an amazing job creating this figure. Now, at first glance, I was looking at it and I was wondering why in the heck was this figure missing certain bones or that are protruding from the back or whatsoever. But then I started to realize, looking at the source material, when Doomsday first appeared, he actually didn't have that much protruding bones from him. They are exactly where they are supposed to be. They're up here in the shoulders, on his elbow, on his fists, on his area where the boots is, on his chest, and on his face. Everything else is just pure muscle. So I applaud DC Collectibles for putting that attention to detail, because there have been so many reincarnations of this character in comics, and they always make him look more bony, or at least they have his protruding bones everywhere much more. But the look of it is amazing. As we look in front of his face, I'm hoping you guys can see it. Apologize if this thing's not focusing correctly, but the eyes on this figure are red. Let me see if we can focus better. Yeah, the eyes on here are detailed that it's red, so it's really, really nice. Let me see if you can see that. I'm sorry if you can't, but it's done nicely. The bones are colored nicely. It's all detailed wise. It's painted white with a little brown wash on it. The mouth and the inner piece is actually reddish or pinkish, and you can see the tongue, so it's really nicely done. The hair on him is nicely colored. It's white with some gray in there too. So you look onto his body, you can see the musculature that was sculpted on this is great. And that's what's great about DC Collectibles' DC Icons line, is that they really go and do great detail on there. In fact, you can probably see it here. There is some vein poppage everywhere, so it looks like he's been bodybuilding, or if not, the veins are just popping out, so it's just really cool. And this, you can look over here on the shoulders and the chest, and then the elbows, you see the protruding bones from his body. And these pieces are actually separate pieces. They're not actually sculpted with the arm pieces and everything else. These are actually separate, so it's nice for them to do that, and they're glued on very nicely. It's kind of hard to tell at first, but it's really nicely done. And as you head down here, you see the arms with the protruding fist bones. Really nicely done. And this is sculpted with the hand, so these pieces are all together. As we make our way towards the shorts areas, you'll see that the shorts are colored nicely green, really nice done. And they've done sculpting where the shirt looks like it's ripped and it's hanging over his belt, which is really nicely done. And as we keep coming here, you'll see this silverness part right here of the shorts. And we keep going down, you'll see the bones are protruding from the inside of his boot outward, so that looks exactly as the comic book did. You look at the coloring of the boots are also green, and you can see some nicely treads here with one peg hole right here. So it's really cool stuff. And one thing that they did pay attention to was the color of the shorts and the boots are different color. They're not the same. And in the comic book, you might have it's hard to tell sometimes when the coloring is, but these are actually done well. So this is pretty nice. But let's take a look quickly at the hands that pop out right here, and you can actually put in one of the fists. So he has a fist that you can add on. It's kind of hard to put on sometimes, but the fist is there with an open hand. Now, the articulation on Doomsday is not the best. Now, they, I believe, had to sacrifice the articulation on this figure for the aesthetic reasons of this, and I have no problem with it because it looks amazing either way. But as you can see, the head right here, it has a bit to look up. It's hard to do it, and it can look slightly down. It can raise its head, and it can make a turn to the right and to the left. Not bad. Its shoulder area can go upwards that much. It'll stop by the bone area, so it won't go too far up. It comes back down this much. You can go a full 360. The bicep swivel here can turn right there. Then you have an elbow, a single elbow jointed area, so it's not too much of a range. So you can see right here, it doesn't give you too much, but it also swivels there, so that's pretty neat. And as you can see on the hand right here, it's got a swivel, and it also has a, well, I won't do that one for the moment. It also has a hinge, as you can see on this side. Now, the diaphragm area is also a pretty tough part to move. It can move slightly to the right and slightly to the left until it starts to hit the sculpting of it. But you can keep going furthermore. You just got to be careful that you don't start hitting areas of the plastic and it starts to rub. But you can get a pretty good turn on that. The ab crunch can go slightly forward. Let me see if we can show that. It's a little tough. You can go slightly forward and slightly back. So it's got some motion there. It's got no waist swivel, so that's unfortunate. Now its legs right here has a drop down method, so it can go down and it can go up. It can go out that much, which is pretty nice. And it can go forward that much, and it can go back that much. Not too bad. It's got a thigh swivel up here, right where the cut of the shorts are with this silver part of his shorts, which is nicely done. It's pretty cool. And then as you can see right here, it's got a double jointed knee that can bend almost all the way. There we go. It's a little tight, so, but that's not too bad. And then just hold that and bring it back up. Then it's got a boot right here. The ankle area can go slightly up, not too much, and it can go slightly down. Its range of motion is very limited on here, and it has the ability to do an ankle pivot, but the problem is that the sculpting on the boot right here prevents it from moving. So another way of actually fixing that is to try using a X-Acto knife and cutting some of that part of the area, but that's actually a way to fix that. But overall, it's nice articulation on this. And just for some size comparisons, here I have the Mattel DC Superheroes Doomsday next to the DC Collectibles DC Icons Doomsday figure. And as you can see, they both looked quite differently, but they are both still great figures. I love the way that this all looks, and it's exact to how the actual comic book showed him. And I still like the DC Superheroes Doomsday because the paint detail on this is amazing, and all the sculpting that's been gone into it is great. And the articulation is still a little bit better than this one, unfortunately, but still, both of these are great figures for the collection. And here is the DC Icons Superman figure that was released earlier, and this is the new DC Icons Superman Battle Damage from the Doomsday 2-pack, and as you can see, they look fairly the same. The color is a little bit different on this Superman. It's a little bit more lighter than this one, but they more or less scale the same way, so it's really nice to have them both to be the same scale so that you can actually interchange them and actually have different versions and different photos, so you can have these guys fighting. And another thing I wanted to mention is you can actually use this effect, the punching effect, on this Superman. I've done it before and it actually holds really nicely. And if you're trying to use this beam, the energy beam or the heat vision from Superman, it won't actually hold itself there. But if you actually have any of those paper cutouts from the articulated comic book art places that you buy, they give you this red wax, and you can actually put the red wax in here and it'll actually blend with the entirety of the plastic, and you actually can place it here and it'll hold really nicely. So then now you can have a Superman with heat vision showing. So that's a pretty cool thing to do and have for an option wise for your figures. Now let me give you my overall assessment on these figures. First off, the bad. The Doomsday figure does not have that great of articulation in the arms. The legs wise, it's great, but the ankle pivots don't work, so it's kind of hard to give it in certain possible positions and for displays and purposes. I do wish that the Superman came with the other head that they announced, because that would have been really awesome to have 3 versions of his head. I do wish though that they also gave us an interchangeable hands, ones that are more like clasping, so that you can put one hand over the other to give more of those options of how Superman was fighting Doomsday. But overall, it's still great. The fact that they look amazing for displaying purposes, and the way they just did it is well worth the price that you pay for it. Now, I really highly recommend it if you are a Superman fan, and at the same time, it is bittersweet because I believe these are the last figures that DC Collectibles will be making for their DC Icons line. And what better way to end their run with the death of Superman to signify the end of their DC Icons line. And I'm overall happy with this, and I'm hoping you guys are able to get this set at some point But overall, I highly recommend it. Go look for them. A word of caution though is, because DC Icons does have a tendency of having some joints break on them, I would recommend that you use caution when moving the joints. Always use the hot water method or a hot hair dryer to be able to move these things apart, because I had difficulty with my Doomsday and I didn't want to break it, and it's a very hefty figure. But overall, like I said, it is a great figure, great set. All these accessories are worth it. All these things and displaying purposes is great. So yeah, go get it, guys, if you're able to find it. Thanks a lot for joining me today. I hope this was great. I hope I was able to give you enough information to make a decision on getting this, whether or not. And yeah, also, if you liked the video, please let me know by pushing the like button. And also, if you have any questions, concerns, ask me, and I can always try to respond to you as best as I can. Overall, yeah. So thanks a lot for joining me. Have a nice day. See you later.